So at this moment in time, I think, okay, what I want to do then is I want to teach people how to practice medicine. I want to teach a class of practitioners. But I have high standards, and I want people to learn Chinese medicine, because how could you do this without understanding Chinese medicine? Anatomy and physiology, because how can you do this without understanding, what's the difference between a lymphatic vessel versus a venule? I wanted people to learn business skills and professionalism, because I don't want people to represent what I'm doing in a way that would be unprofessional. And I realize, I don't know how many people here are Reiki practitioners or know about that, but I believe there are 7 levels of Reiki, and usually they're like weekend courses that you take. I realized it would take at least 20 weekend courses to learn what I wanted people to learn. Yeah. And that's when I realized, oh, SHIT. Nobody even knows what I'm doing. I have patients and they've expressed interest in learning what I'm doing, but I mean, how am I going to teach that many classes? And who's going to be interested in that much education? So, I'm really depressed at this point. I've really put, I'm an eternal optimist, as you can tell. I came out with Fushiwen, it didn't work out. Okay, what's the next thing? Healing sound, okay, what's the next thing? I'm going to keep going until I find the next thing. And so, that's when I realized, okay, what people want is to heal. They want to heal in a way that is simple. So what I will take another step back. In my practice, after I got really tired treating people with these sound tools, moving at the end of the day, I had this revelation that, what if I just treated water? And then I just treated everybody with that same water. And I did that. And anyone here familiar with Emoto? This gentleman in Japan who essentially saw that you can put feelings into water. He'd say happy, and the water would take this beautiful shape, and he'd save the crystal, image of the crystal, or he'd say some horrible thing, and it would look disheveled. So that was part of my idea process. Well, water must be a storage system of some sort, so I treated it, and yeah, that became a vessel of holding energy. So I went from treating everybody with this, treating everybody with water. Yeah, I had Q-tips, and I would just dip it in the Q-tips, and I had different treatments, and hundreds of them, and I just went boom, boom, boom. Much easier. But at this moment, when I was so depressed about what I was going to do next with this medicine, I realized, oh, I can just provide people with this tool. I'll just treat the water and use that as a way of healing people, and sell it at stores, and make it really exciting. And when it's really exciting and people are using it all over the world, I'm going to teach them Fushiwen and Spirit Ranch medicine. Because that's what it's all about for me. Because this is a revolution that people don't even know about. So I'm going to take a moment now, and I'm going to take water, and I'm going to energize it. And those people who want to feel that water, and I'm sure you've all had water in your body and it's had no major medical impact on you. I'm going to treat it right now, and you're going to see kind of how much effort it takes to treat the water. And then those people who are interested in experiencing it are welcome to experience it. And the movement of energy I'm going to use is one that relates to bones. And then it'll be a little experiment for you to see what that feels like. It's going to take 3 or 4 minutes for me to do this. It's going to look kind of wacky. So I'm going to suffer my embarrassment. That's fine here. Every angle that I treat, I'm going to treat 2 different angles. There's a yin and yang side to it. And there's multiple elements that are in each angle. So it's going to take a couple minutes here. If people need to get up and move their bodies, feel free to do that while I do this. You're also welcome to see what I spent my time doing. Okie doke. So now I'm going to get some Q-tips. And just going to get them wet. It's just water. Last time I did this, I kept treating myself over and over and over and over again. I'm going to try not to do that. Not that it would hurt me, but it's sure. I don't want to give you the secret of what this is going to feel like. But
Do we wait to do something?
No, feel free to touch yourself with it if you're interested.
Anywhere?
Anywhere in the body. Doesn't matter where. This aside. So, this definition of how energy moves in space, there's another name for that that you've all heard of, I'm sure. It's called feng shui. And what the traditional, or classical, I should say, forms of Chinese medicine is about is applying feng shui to the body. And that's what we're doing right here, is we're moving energy in specific angles. Hello? There you go. Sure. Just you can touch your skin anywhere. And anywhere. I'm going to do it once for myself. Do we have a garbage here for anybody to throw stuff in? All right. So you can touch yourself anywhere. And you might notice after you touch yourself a little bit of tingling. Anybody notice that? No, you didn't. That's not essential. Sometimes you notice that the energy is shifting and moving.
Or more like the warmth.
Now, does anyone feel any changes in temperature? Any other temperature changes? You're releasing heat? Warm? What's that?
It feels cool.
Cooling to you? Cooling. So this movement of energy is for bones, the inside and outside of bones. And what you should be feeling is actually a cooling sensation in the bones. And people who are feeling heat, that's because heat is actually getting pushed out of the bones. So that is healing you. That is a balancing act, actually.
I felt my neck got loose.
Yeah? Yeah, well, what happens is, you feel something? What's it? Like, you're feeling just like your nose, actually.
It sure takes a lot of water.
Yeah, sorry. So how many people, now that I've expressed the tissue where it goes to, how many people are feeling coolness in their bones? Yeah, so a lot of people in this room are feeling cold in the bones. Last time I did this, I was handing it out, I kept getting wet. I was freezing.
Oh.
I was freezing by the end. So we're going to take a break now, so everyone can stretch their legs. And when we're done, for those who have the ability to stay, I'm going to get into how we went from that to creating a product. I'm going to go over the various products and how they work, unique elements of the products that are good to know about so you can heal yourself with as much knowledge as possible. I encourage people during this break to come up and grab the cards for the Fushi Wen, because that's really where I want you to end up going someday. And someday. I'll let you know. Let's just take 5 minutes, because we'll really use up the rest of the time in that period. So, talk to you in a bit. Pause this real quick. How many people in this room are cold right now? Not because of the air conditioning, but cold? Yeah, so am I. I brought some coffee. It's helping. That's one reason why I think in Seattle coffee is so exciting, is that it's bone cold there.
Very damp.
So, it turns out if you put energized water in a bottle and expect people to use it as a treatment, that you put it on your skin and it does nothing. It just sits there and beads. I mean, it treats you, but it never goes away. You can wipe it. It's just never going to go anywhere. So it turned out not to be the best medium for a product. So I thought, okay, well, my first thought was I'm going to replicate what homeopathy does. And so I bought all these bulk homeopathic pellets. And sure enough, I could energize them. Sure enough, they could be treat people. But it turns out that homeopathy is regulated by the FDA in a totally separate branch. And you can only be regulated by the FDA as homeopathic products if you're in the original homeopathic pharmacopoeia. So
my grandfather did.
Yeah, my products would not fit in that. So And it also turns out that it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars per product to get approved by the FDA. And being just a small person, I certainly don't have those resources. So the idea that I came to was, okay, well, I want to use oils that people can put on their skin so it's not ingested. If it's not ingested, that's great. And I'm also going to make very few claims about what I do, because the more I claim, the more that violates FDA rules, and I don't want to do that. And especially there's some products here that I'm going to talk about that are very specific, where I'm going to say very little about at all, for reasons that should be clear to you.
You started without us.
I noticed the gap here, though. I thought maybe you just left your jacket.
We thought.
Well, I videotaped it, so we'll go back to that part for you. So then I tried different kinds of oils, and I didn't want to use nut oils like peanut oil because of allergies, and sesame oil was too viscous. So ultimately what I came to is sunflower oil, and I came to 100% organic sunflower oil as the method of applying this. So all you do is you put a little dab. On the bottles themselves or on the packaging it says put a drop, but if you put a dab, it'll last for hundreds and hundreds of uses. If you put a drop, it'll go through quicker. So I definitely recommend just dabbing it, especially if you're not worried. There's what they look like on the inside.
There's an iron bottle that is quite literal, that you just touch it. If you shake it out and drop, you'll end up having too much. And
Right,
wasting
more is not helpful. We're moving energy. It's energy medicine. In fact, this is a good moment to talk about what homeopathy is. Because people, how many people here use homeopathy? Okay. Does everybody know what homeopathy is? Well, let's talk about that. So, 200 years ago, a man named Hahnemann, a physician named Hahnemann, created a new form of medicine where he would take herbs and he would put them in water, and then he would take a little bit of that water and put it in more water, and then he'd take a little bit of that water and put it in more water, and he kept going and going and going until the herb concentration in the water was so dilute that there was actually no possibility of any molecules of the herb remaining. And then he started to treat people with that. And what people around the world found was that it was an amazing medicine. That, for instance, one of my favorite medicines in the world is Arnica montana, where you just use, you take a little pill, and if you've fallen down really hard, you'll wake up the next day and you'll barely even notice that you hurt yourself, if at all. It's what I use with my kids all the time. They're constantly smacking themselves really hard, and kids love sugar, so they're crying hysterically. I'm like, hey, here's a little sugar pill, and invariably they're great the next day. So, I mean, that's a medicine that's been around for 200 years. It's great medicine. The medicine I'm promoting is one that's been around for at least 3,000 years. And, but it's basically a similar principle, which is that they're both energy medicines. When you get down to it, when you get a pill, a homeopathic pill, there's no actual herb in it anymore. It's just the energy of the herb. And in the U.S., it's a pretty good industry, but it's in the hundreds of millions. It's not in France alone. It's a $100 billion industry, homeopathy. Throughout Europe, it's a much bigger medicine. And in India, 100 million people rely on homeopathy as their only form of medicine. A study was recently done. So hundreds of millions of people rely on the energy that's inside a little lactose pill for their form of medicine. So my medicine is similar in the sense that it's energy medicine, and you don't need a lot of energy, you don't need a lot of the oil to experience the energy of the energy medicine. As little as necessary, just a little dab is going to be enough. And you put the dab on the back of your hand. You can put it anywhere on your skin. It doesn't really matter where you put it. Because as I demonstrated, that the energy in your bones with that water, you just put a little dab on your skin and you're feeling it everywhere in your bones. Well, we could be even more direct as to what part of the body we're treating with that oil, just through the methods that I employ. So it doesn't, even if I'm treating your eyes, putting it on the back of your hand is good enough.